Hello and welcome back to JM Football. We're going to start off doing some divisional previews. Our producer and the lead producer and lead editor of this channel said, Dalton, Philly, Justin, Penik, I'm putting time on your calendar for the next couple weeks to do divisional previews. So we're like, okay, let's rock and roll and let's do it. And we're starting off with the AFC North. Dalton, Philly. It's been a while since we've actually chatted and talked behind a microphone together. How you doing? BDG. So I went on their channel. I did an NFC East preview. So we're going to start off with the AFC North. The order that we're going to go in is however you finished last year. So let's start off with the Baltimore Ravens. They finished 12-5 last year. They lost the divisional round to the Buffalo Bills, 27-25. And ironically enough, they opened the season against the Buffalo Bills this year. Don't you like how the NFL does that? They were first in offensive EPA per play. If you don't know what EPA is, it's basically just efficiency. So they had the best offense in football last year. They were 11th in defensive EPA per play last year. Dalton, Philly, if you look at their roster on Our Lads, I like looking at Our Lads because it basically does a good job of designating with various colors. Like, is this guy hurt? Is this guy a free agent? Is this guy a draft pick? Or if they're just plain straight up in blue, that means
they're back, baby.
They're back, and they're running it back. And honestly, like with a lot of these AFC North teams, I would say maybe even three of them, the rosters are somewhat similar and comparable. So the Ravens are kind of running it back with what they have. They're bringing back primarily the same coaching staff as well. Dalton, tell me where you're at with these Baltimore Ravens.
Well, I think you nailed it with Baltimore. Last year, they were just efficient, straightforward. Lamar Jackson, basically another MVP caliber season. Some are saying he should have won it last year.
What do you think?
Lamar should have won it last year. But I feel like it was justice.
I'm still angry about it.
Allen should have won 23. Lamar 2024. I don't know. Just give them one each. I just think they have the wrong years. Anywho, Lamar Jackson, man, he was just so good. Number one in QBR, number one in rating. Super efficient. Nearly another 1,000-yard rushing season from Lamar Jackson. When you add in that 4,000-yard season and 40 touchdowns to less than 5 picks. Outstanding. And then let's not forget about King Henry himself. His first year in Baltimore runs for nearly 2,000 yards. The guy has been around the league since 2016, and he continues to dominate the run game. I think the one thing we don't really talk about enough with this Baltimore offense outside of efficiency is how good they've been on third downs and red zone. That's where you make your money, and they've ranked in the top 3 last year in both of those. Number 1 in red zone percent for scoring a touchdown. Number 3 on third down. This offense finds ways to continue to move the chain. I'm super excited to see what year 2 brings of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry on that offense.
Yeah, and I'm really interested to see, and I can't see why Lamar can't reach similar passing stats as he did last year. Now, he led the league in touchdown rate at like 8.6%. He put up 41 touchdowns last year, a whopping 41 touchdowns. Now, there was also another year in his career where he led in touchdown rate in 2019, where he won his first MVP. Mm-hmm. That was 36, but he only played in 15 games that year. So the 2 extra games, and they didn't even play in 17 games in 2019 either, but the 2 extra games, like 9%, 8.5% touchdown rate is a lot, but I can't see why he doesn't get close to 40 touchdowns again. Dalton, he threw 4 interceptions last year.
Super efficient. It's
4 interceptions.
The Baltimore efficient Ravens. It's what they do. Todd Monken in that offense. They just go. They make these explosive plays. They do not turn over the ball. I believe they were 3rd in the NFL in turnovers lost, meaning they did not turn over the ball, which is one of the keys to winning football games. And on that end, you add DeAndre Hopkins now in that passing game. Still a little shaky. Obviously, D-Hop has bounced around from a couple teams over the last couple of years. He might be, quote-unquote, washed. But it's another big target for Lamar to have. Could be potential red zone guy.
That's where I really think his role is. And I've heard a lot of people say, I can't pinpoint like who, but just I've seen it online. Mm-hmm. DeAndre Hopkins, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. Hell, even throw awesome blocker Charlie Kohler in there.
You love yourself some Charlie Kohler.
I love myself some Charlie
Play
Kohler.
some 13 personnel. Why not?
But I can't tell you how many times I've seen, well, this is the best surrounding cast for Lamar Jackson. And really the only guy that is different is DeAndre Hopkins. Now, obviously, there's the running back room, too. You have Derrick Henry. But there's nobody different in that running back room that they're adding as like a weapon for Lamar. No. I don't view... Like, honestly, I am kind of known as an Odell hater. I do think the trio of Odell, Bateman, and Flowers that they had 2 years ago was still the best receiving cast for Lamar. I don't think this year is.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to if Flowers, in I believe his 3rd year, takes another step up? Because obviously he had a great rookie season, second year. They lose Aguilar. I know you're a big fan of Nelson Aguilar this offseason.
You have to be.
Too. But again, outside of that, like you said, it's been a pretty consistent offense. They really didn't make any moves outside of DeAndre Hopkins in terms of the starting position.
But I kind of like that, though. There's part of me that likes it because I was a little worried about the O-line.
They bring Stanley back, which was another big question mark. Were they going to move on from Stanley? Were they going to bring him back? Sign him to that deal.
Yeah.
You extend Rashad Bateman this offseason as well. So their goal basically this offseason was to keep that offensive unit cohesive and together, consistent, because they were so good last year. And quite frankly, they've been good over the last few years because Lamar has been MVP caliber nearly every season.
Yeah, I would have maybe liked them to see. I mean, I say this. I mean, you know, I don't watch the Ravens every day. I watch a lot of Ravens ball because I just love Lamar. I just love what the Ravens do. But I'm still like a little worried about like maybe the right side of that line, the Daniel Falele to guard.
The mountain
experiment.
Yeah.
It worked, especially he's a mover in the run game. Maybe in the past, you know, maybe as pass pro, he's not awesome. I don't love Roger Rosengarten and whatever they have going on at right tackle.
Okay.
That was a situation last year that wasn't that great. But still, the way that they run offense, and I think like Lamar is going to just. He ultimately increases the floor of whatever this offense is. And I think the floor of this offense is like still a top 5 offense. I really do, because you have Lamar and you have Derrick Henry. And no matter what, this offensive line is a kick-ass run blocking unit.
Yeah.
And then Lamar's just so good at avoiding sacks and stuff that I'm not worried about pass blocking.
I will say, I think the biggest question mark for the Baltimore Ravens this year is that pass defense, especially in the secondary. We saw some holes last year with their defense. They ranked 27th in passing yards per game. And granted, some of it may be skewed because Baltimore had leads late in games, so teams are going to get some garbage time and accumulate some passing yards.
They were 14th in EPA per dropback. But, I mean, that's around average. You know?
And it was a big question mark going into last year because you lost Mike McDonald to the Seattle Seahawks job, getting the head coaching over taking the roles from Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
And they made some additions to the secondary, which they needed. Jair Alexander signs as a free agent, and you draft Malachi Starks out of Georgia. There were some question marks and a lot of injuries in the back half of the defensive room for the Baltimore Ravens. Their secondary was banged up. You bring in a young rookie like Malachi Starks to pair up with Kyle Hamilton, and you bring in an experienced guy like Jair Alexander, who, if he could stay on the field, that's the biggest question, because the talent's there. It's been there when he was there in Green Bay, but he just hasn't been able to stay on the field. So if they can find a way to keep him playing nearly 17 games, that's going to be a huge addition to the Baltimore defense.
So their over-under as a team is 11.5.
Okay, and I mean, listen, we're going to talk about obviously these teams, but Mike Tomlin and the Steelers find a way to not go below 500. Cincinnati, bad start, finish very strong. I still like Baltimore. I think they're a team that wins 12 games, maybe 13. I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, I think if the Bengals actually play to the level that they're capable of, and then you're talking about maybe they split instead of the Ravens maybe sweeping that series, and if the Bengals are a little bit more competitive and put more pressure on the Ravens to play, then maybe the Ravens end the season with at 11-6. And they're fighting. It's just a 1-2 punch at the top of that division. But if I had to bet, I would bet the over. Lamar's going to win MVP. Over under 28.5 passing touchdowns. I mean, he had 41 last year, and he's averaged 27.5 in his 17 career, like a 17 career game pace. He's averaged 27.5, 3,500 passing yards. He had 4,100 last year. His 17 game pace in his career is 3,300. That's only
been going up, too.
Yeah, I think it's going to go up because teams are going to want to stop Derrick Henry and stack the box. And I mean, it's a pick your poison.
Yep.
Do you want to stack the box and try and stop Lamar's legs and Derrick Henry's legs?
Yeah.
Or is Lamar going to throw the ball deep? And maybe that's where DeAndre Hopkins can come in, because I feel like maybe he can at least be like a contested catch guy and go up and find that ball at the catch point. So I'm going over with everything. I love the Ravens. I don't know if I want to pick them to win the Super Bowl, but I really need Lamar to win in the postseason and stop some dumb narratives.
Right, and I was going to say, that's the only true narrative for Lamar Jackson. Like, the negative against him is that he hasn't won the big game yet, and he hasn't even gotten to the Super Bowl. And obviously the AFC is stacked, but with the talent that the Baltimore Ravens have on their roster, plus an elite quarterback like Lamar Jackson, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to make the Super Bowl. The one other point I want to make on defense, I think the biggest question mark or player to watch on the defensive side, surprisingly, is our guy Kyle Van Noy. I mean, the guy's 33 years old last year, gets 12.5 sacks.
He's revitalized his career. It's been awesome.
He's aged like fine wine. Is he able to replicate that again going into next year? Because he was the leading sack getter for Baltimore. I know they have guys like Odafe Oweh and Ndamdi Matabuke, formerly known as Justin Matabuke. They have some guys in that front. Let's see if they can replicate that into 2025.
Hey, look out for Aeneas Peebles, Virginia Tech. I'll tell you what. Very, very light interior defensive line, but I like him. Taking in the 6th round. Steal day 3. There you go.
Shout out Roquan Smith.
Mike Green. Mike Green's a big X factor for this team too.
Well,
because he fell to the 2nd round, and so I mean that probably like one of the biggest draft steals is Mike Green.
Well, we know why he fell too.
Yeah. We know why he fell, but
character is the biggest question mark.
Ultimately, he's an athlete, and he's going to a football team, and he may have an opportunity to play.
Play on 3rd down, go get the quarterback, have fun.
So he's a huge X factor for this team too, especially like if Kyle Van Noy starts to come back to earth, they're going to need other guys to step up and get to the quarterback. Shout out to my guy Travis Jones too, coming into his own. UConn.
Love it.
All right, we're going on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, your Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year, they finished with a record of 10-7. They lost in the wild card round to the Baltimore Ravens by a score of 28-14. They were 20th in offensive EPA per play. Good for them. They were 9th in defensive EPA per play. That's pretty normal for them. What really kind of brought them down, you would think that maybe they'd be higher. They weren't that good against the run last year. They were 17th in EPA per rush. Dalton, man, I don't know where to go. They had quite the I just bit my tongue. They had quite the off season of bringing people in. Obviously, that's headlined by Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf. Yeah. They recently just acquired Jonnu Smith from the Miami Dolphins.
Art Smith's guy.
They make T.J. Watt the highest non-quarterback player in the NFL. They bring it the transactions are endless, and including even the players that they lost are kind of endless as well. Like they lost both of their quarterbacks, Fields,
Pickens.
Wilson, Harris. Pickens goes to the Cowboys.
Dan Moore goes to the Titans.
So there's a lot of movement for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but why do I just get the feeling, and there's a couple teams that are in this boat, like the Steelers. Damn, man, like, you know, every year people get so mad when you disrespect them and like, oh, they're better than you think. They're better than you think.
Always.
You don't know what you're talking about. I kind of don't like talking about them. The Dolphins are also in this boat where I just feel like the jig is up and you know what they're going to do. You know what they're going to be. It almost doesn't matter who they bring in or what they do. You know how this is going to end.
Penik, it's the voodoo magic of Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, that's a big thing where
define magic.
They do not fall under 500. It's a thing. Mike Tomlin will go 8-8 or better. Last time the Pittsburgh Steelers finished below 500 was 2003 with Bill Cowher as head coach. It has been over 20 years since the last time the Steelers have been under 500. And you know what? It's a revamped team. I feel like when we talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers during the offseason, they're not really that flashy team that makes a lot of moves. That is not to be said this offseason, where they've made basically every change possible. Starting quarterback, starting running back, wide receiver number 1. My goodness, you signed TJ Watt, like you said, to the biggest deal out of non-quarterbacks in NFL history. They are making moves. They're done being stagnant, being that 9-8 team. And I'm very curious to see how this Aaron Rodgers / Jalen Warren, DK Metcalf, Caleb Johnson-led offense will look in 2025.
Yeah, and that's the philosophy, obviously, as an organization of, we're done being mid, but did what they do, like, does it make them not mid?
And I don't think so. No. I don't. I mean, the biggest X factor, and we're not going to even use him as our X factor, is Aaron Rodgers, right? Because he did finish the back half of the season relatively strong.
Right.
Like it's still one of the best passing seasons in Jets history, which granted is not saying much, but it's saying
competing with 2015 Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Right. So again, it's not saying much, but that said, there could be something left in the tank. Now, granted, there's obviously stuff off the field. He could be a distraction. But the caliber of play is not detrimental. I don't think he's going to be the type of guy that will lose games for him still.
Yeah.
I think he's
shot.
Shaky. I don't know.
I think he's shot.
He's not he ain't as good as he once was. Shout out Toby Keith. But I do think he is still a starting caliber quarterback, maybe even within like the 15 to 17 range of type of quarterback, like starting quarterback right now.
The way that this offense is organized is really puzzling to me when it comes to what you think, how Aaron Rodgers operates, right? This is so tight end heavy. What tight end has had success under
Richard Rodgers,
Jermichael Finley?
Okay, but not great ones.
No, but now this
Robert
is led,
Tonyan had a year.
Like this is led by Pat Freiermuth, who like I honestly think they may like Jonnu Smith and Darnell Washington more.
Jonnu will be, I mean, they have 3 guys. Another 13 personnel team, jokingly.
So, but are they going to really
utilize it? No.
Yeah, like I think our lads has like they ran like 11 personnel like 48% of the time last year. That's where they're gonna have to kind of be,
which is fine. I do think Rodgers will be able to do so, and I also think that you're gonna have probably Jonnu, if you're gonna use him, split out wide. Sometimes Calvin Austin will probably
Freiermuth will split out wide too.
Yeah, so Calvin Austin comes off the field, use both of them in that realm.
Robert Woods is your wide receiver too. Hopefully, I'm hoping Roman Wilson steps up for them too. I liked Roman Wilson last year, but he was really hurt last year. So
we have our questions on offense, and then defensively, they've been pretty darn elite over the last couple of seasons, and now they've made some changes too. No more Minkah Fitzpatrick. You acquired Jalen Ramsey, which I'm curious, are they going to use him in the nickel? Or are they going to use him as a potential outside cornerback still? Maybe even safety. I don't think safety, but you bring in Darius Slay, you bring in Juan Thornhill. So, again, more additions to that secondary. Yeah, for that defensive line, Derek Harmon, who we both liked coming out of Oregon, comes in. TJ Watt's still there. Cam Hayward feels like he's been there forever. I think this defense, though they've made some changes, will be fine. They were second on third downs. I'm a huge fan of third down percentage. Can we get off the field? Their pass rush has always been elite, and I think it will continue to do so. The question is, how will they utilize Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey in the backside? Because I think we're getting older, and I think cornerback's one of those positions where father time hits you very quick.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see how they play.
Yeah, I'm not worried about this defense. I mean, apparently, like I think Minka's still a really damn good football player. Like I don't know if I would have so easily just moved on from him. I mean, if you're the Steelers and you want to go all in, you could work out a trade with the Dolphins without including Minkah Fitzpatrick, and just, I don't know if you can give them. I feel like draft picks in the NFL, in the way that trades work, it's not like other sports like baseball or basketball where like their players are so valuable. You can't even trade picks in baseball. That's why I feel like draft picks are so much more valuable, especially if you're the Steelers and you're going all in for 1 year of Aaron Rodgers. Keep Minkah Fitzpatrick on your team and then add Jalen Ramsey to that. Like, how sick does that sound? But so I guess maybe he was declining. Okay, he's not the all-pro player that maybe he was a couple years ago, but he's still pretty damn good. So I don't know, man. The defense is going to be good. That's not the main concern. And this pass rush, the identity is the pass rush. They're going to get after it. They got to be a little bit better against the run, but they're going to put the quarterback on the ground, and then sacks are drive killers and they're drive enders, and then that's going to, the idea is that's going to give your offense more opportunities to score, and they have the best front in football. I mean, this is going to be year 3 of Keanu Benton at the nose tackle spot, who I really love out of Wisconsin. Really shows good hands. Derek Harmon was one of those guys in the draft last year that nobody hated. Like, everybody seemed to somehow love him, yet there wasn't like this consensus that he was better than like Walter Nolan or some of these other guys. But
I think they might have had higher upsides, and that's where the allure is for a player like that, right?
But that's why Derek Harmon going to the Steelers just makes sense.
Great fit,
and it's like, you're going to be good. Cam Hayward, aged like a fine wine, like we were saying. TJ Watt, obviously we know him. Alex Highsmith, and the most
your boy,
enticing player like on this defense, free Nick Herbig. Because
he's a starter anywhere else, basically.
He's a starter almost on every other NFL team. And he'll go in. Like, Highsmith will go down. And he'll like,
we've seen Highsmith get hurt, and he comes in, and he's great.
Rack up sacks. And it's like, dude, Nick Herbig is your third fucking edge rusher, which is crazy. And they draft Jack Sawyer as well, who I think, like, again, perfect. Yeah. Perfect for them, especially as a backup player. So year 2 of Peyton Wilson too. Like, this defense is legit. We know the defense is legit. Again, but I think the jig is up. I think, like, we know the story of this football team, and it's, are they gonna have 8 or 9 wins? And unfortunately for Mike Tomlin, you can't finish 500 in the NFL anymore with 17 games. So is the 500 winning percentage streak going to end this year? Like, I lean yes. I mean, did I also say yes last year? I believe I did, but I just don't think Rodgers has it. And I just don't like this surrounding cast. We didn't even talk about DK Metcalf.
1,000-yard question mark.
Yeah, like Chris, he's gotten the numbers, but he's not like the alpha number 1 receiver that I think he should be.
He's a big yards per reception guy.
I think he's going to get volume and target. He's going to get volume shit on this offense.
Rodgers and Metcalf have to click. The running game is a question. I do want to point out, I think one really funny thing, we were talking about scheduling, right? The Steelers always have a great start to the season, I feel like, and falter off towards the end.
Right.
Steelers' first 2 games, back-to-back revenge games for two of their biggest players. You have the Jets week 1, Fields versus Rodgers.
Yeah.
A little bit of a revenge game for both these guys, a little chip on their shoulder. Week 2, they play at home. Their home opener is versus Seattle. So DK Metcalf will be playing his former team for the first time. I think
love how the NFL does that.
I love when the NFL does that. But I will say, I do think the Steelers, the over is 8.5, correct? Over under?
Yeah, because that's...
And I will be taking the over. My biggest thing is I don't think Aaron Rodgers is washed. I think it's an upgrade to Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. And hey, Justin Fields, I think, could look really good with the Jets. Play all 17 games. Hopefully, we'll see. But that said, I do think it's an upgrade. My biggest X factor for this team, however, is going to be the tackle play. You lose Dan Moore, who wasn't that great, to Tennessee and gets completely overpaid, in my opinion. You have Troy Fanatu, second year coming in now. Right tackle Broderick Jones is now going to be playing.
Slides. You think that he's going to slide over to the right side. Fatanu only got 55 snaps last year.
Yeah, so the tackle play, when you got to protect old man Rodgers, right?
Like an old man that can't move,
So that's going to be the biggest question mark. Can tackle play prevent edge rush getting to Rodgers? Because you don't want him getting hit. We saw that with New York.
So that's your X factor, your tackle play.
Yeah.
And hey, pick Broderick Jones as the left tackle because that's more important.
Yeah.
My X factor, we decided in the break in between Ravens and Steelers we're going to do X factors.
I did mine for the Ravens.
Yeah, who was mine for the Ravens?
Lamar.
Sure, yeah. Don't X factor besides quarterback. Mine is I like Caleb Johnson. I think he can take over as RB1 at one point. I think that's a steal in the third round. I thought that was a guy that probably could have gone in the second round. I think he's a contact balance guy. Not like a power back, but he has like those traits. He has that capability, but he's also smooth and light on his feet too. So Caleb Johnson, and I'm taking the under for the Steelers.
Okay.
And I think they finished with 8 wins.
So you're right around that 500.
Yeah, because
mark.
Again, we know the story of this team. Like we just know it. So
yeah,
there you go.
And there you go. Over.
That's Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, now it's time to talk the most frustrating team in the NFL, at least in my opinion. Our Cincinnati Bengals. You know what? I'm calling them my Cincinnati Bengals.
Sure.
They finished 9-8 last year. They missed the playoffs after starting 1-4. They finished the season 8-4, and most notably, they won their last 5 games. They lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers coming out of their bye week. They because they're the Bengals, and they allow points. That's what they did last year. They allowed 44 points to the Russell Wilson-led Pittsburgh Steelers, and then they won every game after that. Now, granted, they beat the Cowboys, who at that time believed didn't have Dak Prescott by week 14 in December. Yep. They beat the Titans. They beat the Browns. They allowed 27 points to a Titans team in December. They beat the Browns. They beat the Broncos. Good team.
Good Broncos
overtime
team.
win.
Saturday night game, yeah.
And then they finish off the year beating off the Pittsburgh Steelers by a score of 19-17. So they somehow ended up 9-8. They somehow, even despite finishing, starting off 1-4, they had a shot to. There was a scenario that was kind of unrealistic, but somewhat realistic. They could make the playoffs, but they missed the playoffs as a team. They finished 7th in offensive EPA per play, 28th in defensive EPA per play. Dalton Philly, they're the most frustrating team in football, and I want to pick them to win the Super Bowl like every year.
Yeah,
I picked them to win the Super Bowl last year. And I would, honestly, I'm close to doing it again, but vibes are kind of just bad right now because they take care of their players because I feel like they have to financially and contractually, but it doesn't necessarily feel like they want to take care of their really good players and reward themselves for the good work that they have in building up this roster. Vibes are bad, man, and that's why I probably won't be picking the Bengals to win the Super Bowl. But honestly, that they should have that expectation.
Well, especially rewarding. You have one of the best receivers in the game in Jamar Chase. You have one of the best, if not the best, number 2 receiver in T. Higgins, and you have one of the best pass rushers in football, Trey Hendrickson, who we will talk about later. But you reward Chase. You reward Jamar Chase, and you reward T. Higgins to massive contracts, 4 for $161 for Jamar, 4 for $115 for T. Higgins. Bang, bang. Like, those are 2 massive deals.
Yeah.
And now you have to pay Trey Hendrickson. Again, that's a big situation. But this team, offensively, Burrow throws for 4,900 yards, 43 touchdowns, leads the league in both those categories. Jamar Chase, a triple crown winner. This offense was immaculate last year, nearly immaculate last year. Shout out offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher, Cortland guy. Let's go Red Dragons. Involved in the mix there on that offensive side of the ball, scheming things up. But man, this defense, right? I think that is the biggest problem with this team. It is a painful team to watch. They lost 6 games last year when they scored 25 or more points. That's the most since at least 2000. Red flag, red siren going off, because that's a big issue, right? You're putting up points. You got to prevent teams from putting up more than 25 points, right? Pop, that's crazy. You fire Lou Anarumo, so you're going to bring in Al Golden, who is a great defensive coordinator in the college level. Great overall, too, quite frankly. So I don't think he solves all their problems, but maybe schematically something changes from Al Golden with Lou Anarumo.
I think the whole thing is they want to try and simplify it. Like Lou Anarumo, way too complicated, way too complex.
A lot of cover,
too many moving parts.
Dropping 8
versus, hey, let's bring in a guy from college that has a track record, and we have these young guys in the secondary. A mix of vets and a mix of young guys. They got to get on the same page, and things have to get better. But Dalton, let me bring this up because I was thinking about this as you were talking. There's a big 4 in the NFL in terms of quarterbacks. You would agree with that, right? And then there's everybody else, right?
Mahomes.
Yes.
Lamar. Not Lamar?
Yes.
Lamar. So Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, Burrow.
And then there's a drop-off.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. I think I would agree with that. Yeah.
Jaden Daniels could join that conversation.
Daniels could join it.
We were even saying that about C.J. Stroud after year 1, and then you saw what happened.
Yep.
I think
absolutely.
I think
those 4 are totally okay.
Two totally different situations, but neither here nor there.
You bring that up because
the rest of those 3 teams, if the Ravens win the Super Bowl, you're not shocked.
Yep.
If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, you're not shocked. If the Bills win the Super Bowl, you're not shocked. If the Bengals win the Super Bowl, you're like, whoa, that's
big turnaround.
That's a huge turnaround. But that shouldn't be the case. Like the way that Burrow played, if they win 11 games, I still think Lamar deserved that MVP. But Burrow
most valuable
is
right?
playing he played at a different level, and what he had to deal with last year, is unlike any of those QBs have to deal with in terms of their surrounding cast, especially when it comes to the other side of the football.
Well, we talk about, I think a lot of people on the Twitter world, the X world, Twitter world, about what if could have been. Like Joe Burrow, granted, for sure, if you flip him and Lamar, how did the Ravens finish versus how did the Bengals finish, and how do both these guys look? But that said, it's just not how the game of football is played. Granted, Joe Burrow, absolutely dynamic last year, fought through all the adversity. And granted, the offensive line wasn't the greatest unit in football
it's still
either.
Not great right now.
And you bring in 2 new starters in Dylan Fairchild and Lucas Patrick, former Green Bay, former Saint, at the guard position.
There's going to be a battle at that left guard spot, too. So.
It's going to be shaky. My big thing, Pen,
Pen?
You like that? No. My big thing, Pen, this defensive unit, they didn't really make that many additions, and their best defensive player, one of the greatest edge rushers in football, and Trey Hendrickson, hasn't gotten a new deal yet. He's holding out currently.
I think maybe by the time that this comes out, I think that situation may
resolve itself,
and then the same thing with Shamar Stewart. But still, even without talking about those situations individually, because again, they all may sort themselves out in a way. Just think about it as if you're an employee of a company, right? And this is what I'm thinking about with the Bengals here. We're like, these players get paid, they don't care. I think they kind of do, because if you're working for an organization, if you're a member of an organization, and you feel like you're not valued, and you feel like you're not that important, and especially when the owner's coming out and saying kind of wild shit about I don't want to pay players if they're in jail. It's like, what, man? Read the room a little bit about who's working for you and stuff like that. The vibes are off. The vibes are off, and it's not one of a team that is boom, the Kansas City Chiefs, that they got it figured out, that there's a clear message, a clear goal, a clear expectation. Ravens, same thing, continuity, program, coaching, everybody gets it. There's not that with the Bengals. It's just weird. There's probably a better way to describe it, but it's not what it should be, like a championship caliber program. And man, do they have championship caliber players. At least on the offensive side of the ball. Trey Hendrickson is that on the defense.
Penik, if they played 7-on-7, Skelly, whatever you want to call it, the Bengals, you could argue, is the best unit in football. They have dynamic players at quarterback, 2 receivers, receiving running back, and Chase Brown too. You have a fantastic unit. But that said, I mean,
It ain't played like that.
You have to play.
You need a line.
You got to play. You got to be impressive on the defensive side of the ball. My biggest thing with the Trey Hendrickson thing, if it doesn't resolve itself as this comes out, he had 17.5 sacks, led the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, and obviously pressure percentage comes into play here and win percentage, but just sacks. I think that's a great blanket statement just to prove a point. Number 2, Joseph Asai out of Texas. I liked him coming out of Texas, but I didn't think he'd be this good. 5 sacks. That's not much.
No,
the next guy,
the second guy on the team,
and the third guy, former Giant BJ Hill, had 3.
Yeah.
Those are your top 3 sack getters in football. If we want to accumulate this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Penik, the biggest thing, Trey Hendrickson, 17.5 sacks. The rest of the Bengals defense, 17.5 sacks. He literally equaled the amount of sacks the rest of the team provided. Like, that's how good this guy is. And this is a Bengals defense that basically ranked 29th or worse in every major defensive category. Yeah. And you're taking potentially your best player, not paying him. He holds out. My goodness, this unit is going to be horrendous again. So I want to pick the over. I want to, because this offense is electric. I can't. In good faith, I cannot take the over on the Bengals strictly because this defense, Al Golden deserves to win Assistant Coach of the Year if they look half as good as they did last year. And that's saying something. I'm going to take the under with the Bengals. I think they win 8 to 9 games. The over-under is 8.5. 9.5. I think they win 8 or 9. I'll give them 9 and 8 like last year, and I still don't think they finish above the Steelers. It's nuts.
I want to go over because, again, I still... There's a part of me and a part of my brain. It's not even my brain. It's my heart.
We want to pick the Bengals. We do. We really do.
Because, dude, think of how fun, and this is where, like, the Steelers are a bore. Like, save me the fucking Pittsburgh Steelers in the wild card round where they're just going to lose.
Every year. Yep.
Like, I was so rooting for the Bengals to go in and just wreak havoc.
It would have been Bengals-Bills in the first week.
Sign me up.
2 versus 7. It would have been
sign me up.
Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so sign me up for that. Like, I want good quarterbacks in the playoffs every single year and as much as possible because I just think that not even good offense with high scoring games. I just think good quarterback play is what makes good football. I mean, you try and watch any spring game that the XFL, whoever puts out
UFL.
The UFL. You watch any spring game, and it's just I can't watch this sometimes because the competency of offense needs to be there, and the Bengals have that. So I'm gonna go over because my heart is telling me to. Even though the entire time I've talked about why they should go under. Their draft class this year really did not impress me. Like Shamar Stewart, even if he winds up playing for the Bengals, like I think at the time that we're recording this, which is July 22nd, I do think Shamar Stewart is going to wind back up at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think so too.
I just think that's such a bad situation. I mean, even if they work out a contract, part of me is being like, I feel like this relationship is unsalvageable.
Yeah, it's already strained. I don't think they're going to be able to work it
out. If there's
an
option to return back to school and like, I can get NIL money and just try and increase my draft stock, when there was already questions about his draft stock to begin with.
Yeah.
I would go back to school. So they take Demetrius Knight in the second round, 2 South Carolina linebacker. Okay, Dylan Fairchild will be in an offensive line battle, and there's really nobody else that like really pops off the screen day 3. They didn't have a ton of draft picks this year. So I don't know, man.
Penik, who's your X factor? You have the over with your heart. Who's your X factor? Mine's Hendrickson, just because of the situation around it.
Oh, my X factor is just anybody that they've drafted in the first 3 rounds the last couple of years on the defensive side of the ball, and can anybody show up for them? Like
X factor? Question mark. Anybody. Defense?
This is hey, if Shamar Stewart's there, great. Miles Murphy, man, like. We're playing 600 snaps in our career, and we have 3 sacks. We have no sacks last year. Maybe he's struggling with injuries. Chris Jenkins was drafted in the 2nd round last year as well from the University of Michigan.
Dax Hill, was he a 2nd-round pick?
Dax Hill was a 1st-round pick.
Yeah.
And I really like Dax Hill. But 2022, that was a long time ago. Cam Taylor-Britt is probably like the leader of that secondary outside of the safeties, and Cam Taylor-Britt is really inconsistent.
Britt talks his shit, sometimes back it up, other times gets burned. So.
DJ Turner, 2nd-round pick 2023. 3rd-round pick Jordan Battle 2023. So, I mean, there's all these guys that they've invested high draft capital in on the defensive side of the ball that just have not – they're non-factors. Non-factors. And for a team in a front office that's – small, that they emphasize film and we're film guys and that's what we're going to focus on, they really have to be better. So I'm going over with the 9.5 just because my heart is telling me to. I I think if these Bengals can get anywhere back to like what they were doing a couple years ago on the defensive side of the ball, we know the offense is going to be good. Look out. So
Bengals, we want you to be good.
All right, Dalton. I want to win this right now.
Rip it.
The Cleveland Browns.
You sound very excited to talk about your Cleveland Browns.
There's a couple teams that share the same over-under with 5.5. The Giants and Jets are one of those teams. The Saints are one of those teams. I think there are 5 teams that share an over-under 5.5. Maybe the Titans are part of that too. Sorry if that's not true. Disrespectful to a team that I like in the Tennessee Titans. I really like what they're building. But the Browns have an over-under win-loss of 5.5. Last year, your Cleveland Browns.
Not mine, yours.
Last year, the Cleveland Browns did finish with a record of 3-14. They were not good defensively. They were not good offensively.
Good. Very good. Love that.
Even their defense has names in there. You want to know what's crazy? They were 27th in points allowed on the defensive side of the ball, but they were 9th in points allowed per drive. You want to know what that tells me?
Mistakes on
your offense is so awful that you're allowing a shit ton of points, but if you actually look at it on a per drive basis, it's top 10.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I've never seen that split before, of being bottom 5 in points, but top 10 in points per drive allowed.
So the other thing that really does say is on certain drives, and I saw it firsthand watching this Browns defense play a little bit, they would just give up big plays. Like they would make mistakes in the secondary where Jim Schwartz, one of the best defensive minds of the 2000s, I would say. He's been such a good coordinator, head coach, shaky, of course. But as a defensive mind, he's been one of the best of this generation. And last year was so weird for this defense because they made lots of mistakes. Cover 2 versus cover 3 differences, dropping back in man coverage versus zone, where the cornerback doesn't pick up the receiver, thinks it's zone, safety doesn't take him, and a guy runs deep. Like it was frustrating watching that because that's the one area where they really should have strived. I'm just going to flat out say it, Penik. We don't really need to talk about the Browns that much. Sorry, Browns fans. I'm taking the under. I think they're a bottom 3 team in football this year. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. One of them's going to play. If not 2, if 3 or 4. Jerome Ford is now the guy.
Are they going to carry 4 heading
no.
into the season?
Right now it's 4. Who do you think is the odd man out?
I mean, I think it would be Pickett because they love Flacco. There's no way. I mean, if we're living in Madden, it's Flacco, but just knowing Flacco's history with the organization, his history with Kevin Stefanski, and also like you see these mic'd up videos with whether Njoku's mic'd up or whoever, they love Flacco.
And what's funny? Stefanski would want Shedeur out. That's who he would want out because you saw the reactions from Andrew Berry in the front office when they took Shedeur. That was 1,000% a Jimmy Haslam.
You're not going to carry.
1,000%.
You're not going to carry 4.
You can't. And you're more likely not to keep both the young guys just based that's the cards you've been dealt. So it comes down to Flacco and Pickett.
Yeah.
And
so I don't know. I think Flacco's going to be the week 1 starter, and then I eventually think you'll see a mix of everyone else.
My quick X factor, because I know you love JOK. Obviously, he's probably going to be out for the year, having surgery. It's a big blow. They take Carson Schwessinger out of UCLA with the first pick in the second round. It was a very weak linebacker draft in 2025. He was probably one of the top, if not the top guy in most people's eyes. Can he fill the shoes of JOK? Because obviously there's going to be struggles on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. Big shoes to fill. Can he do it? And how will this defense look without JOK?
Biggest X factor for me is the race to the number 1 overall pick, and it's going to be the Browns, and it's going to be the Saints. Who's going to get Arch?
So we're both going to take the under. How many wins?
I mean, I think 3.
I'll give them 2. I don't feel good about it. I'll give them 2. These are our projected standings of the AFC North. Right here. Who do we... You love my sound effect noises. Who do you guys think wins the division? Who do you think is going to be the worst team? Let us know. Penik,
Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns.
I want to put the Bengals too, but I have Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Browns, which obviously just shows on the screen.
See you next time.